Today, we're going on a journey through 5 really powerful psalms. Now, these aren't just separate poems. When you look at them together, they tell this single, remarkable story that starts deep inside a person's heart and expands all the way out to the grand sweep of history.
And that brings up a really good question, right? How can poems that are 3,000 years old have anything to say to us today? Well, you might be surprised. Let's dive in and find out.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the leader's personal vow. Then we'll dive into a prayer from someone who's really suffering. From there, we'll rise up to a soul's song of praise, expand our view to the majesty of creation, and finally land on the bedrock of history. It's quite a trip.
All right, first stop, Psalm 101. This is traditionally thought to be written by King David right as he was taking the throne. And it's like his personal manifesto, a blueprint for how to lead with righteousness, laying out the standards he was going to hold himself to, both in private and as a king.
And just look at where he starts. Not in the throne room, not in the court, but within my house. This is so key. The psalmist is telling us that real integrity isn't something you just put on for show in public. Nope, it's a quality that has to start at home, in private, before it can mean anything anywhere else. So then David gets really specific about his commitments. He's not just hoping for a good kingdom, he's making active choices. He vows to reject evil, to get rid of gossip and slander, to surround himself with people he can trust, to shut down deceit, and to actively uphold justice. These are all verbs, they're actions.
And this ancient idea is as relevant as ever. It doesn't matter if you're leading a country, a business, or just your own family. The point is, your public life is built on the foundation of your private character. Integrity is absolutely an inside job. Okay, so from that determined vow of a king, we're going to take a sharp emotional turn. Psalm 102 is actually subtitled A Prayer of the Afflicted, and it throws us right into this world of intense personal pain and suffering. I mean, the language here is just so raw. The psalmist feels like his life is just vanishing like a puff of smoke, that his strength is completely gone, that he's withered like grass. He even says he feels as lonely as a single bird on a roof. It's just this incredibly vivid picture of deep suffering. But then, right in the middle of all this hopelessness, the psalm just pivots. It's amazing. On one hand, you have human frailty. My life is like a fading shadow. It's temporary. But on the other hand, there's this declaration of divine eternity, but you, O Lord, shall endure forever. It's this stark, powerful contrast.
And that's where the hope comes from. It's not about pretending the suffering isn't real. It's about putting it in perspective. By shifting your focus from the temporary crisis to this huge, eternal, unchanging reality, the writer finds something solid to hold on to, like an anchor in a storm.
After walking through that valley of distress, the emotional journey just soars upward. Psalm 103 is this pure, powerful song of praise. But it isn't vague, it's a detailed list of why we should be grateful. And it focuses right in on God's mercy and His never-ending love. The psalm kicks off with this command to the self, "Bless the Lord, O my soul." It's a reminder that praise isn't always just a spontaneous emotion. Sometimes it's a choice, an act of your will. It's about intentionally remembering, as it says, to forget not all His benefits. So, what benefits are we talking about? Well, the psalm gives us a whole list. He's the one who forgives our sins, who heals, who redeems our life from the pit, who crowns us with love and compassion, and who satisfies us with good things. You see? The praise is rooted in specific, concrete things. And to get a sense of just how big this mercy is, the psalmist uses some of the most beautiful metaphors you'll ever read. God's love is as high as the heavens are above the earth. He removes our sins as far as the east is from the west. Think about that. They never meet. But this huge cosmic mercy is also incredibly personal, as gentle as the compassion a father has for his own kids. The big idea here is that real, deep gratitude isn't just a mood that comes and goes. It's a discipline. It's something you build by intentionally, deliberately remembering the specific ways you've experienced mercy and forgiveness in your own life. Okay, building on that theme of praise, our camera lens is about to zoom way, way out. We're going from the personal experience of God's mercy to the mind-blowing majesty of the entire cosmos. Psalm 104 is like taking a breathtaking nature tour of the universe, celebrating the genius of its creator. This one verse really says it all. It's this cry of pure awe at the variety, the complexity, and the wisdom you can see all over the natural world. The psalmist isn't seeing chaos, he's seeing a world just packed to the brim with the treasures of a master designer.
The psalm itself has this really cool, orderly flow. The poet takes us on this tour, starting with God stretching out the heavens like a tent, then setting boundaries for the oceans so they don't flood everything. He describes the springs that give water, the plants that grow, and how every single creature, big and small, has its place and its food. It's all one giant, amazing ecosystem.
So what this psalm invites us to do is to see the world differently, to not just see it as a random collection of stuff, but as a masterpiece that reveals the wisdom and power of the artist. It means a walk in the park or just looking up at the stars can become an act of worship.
So we've looked at ourselves, our suffering, God's mercy, and His creation. Now for our final stop, our journey turns to human history. Psalm 105 is basically a history lesson, and it tells the story of Israel for one very specific reason, to prove that God keeps His promises.
This psalm is like a highlight reel of God's faithfulness. It begins with that foundational promise, the covenant He made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Then it follows the thread through the story of Joseph in Egypt, recounts the incredible rescue from slavery with Moses, and reminds us of how God provided for them in the desert. And it all leads up to the final fulfillment, giving them the promised land. It's an epic story of a promise kept over centuries.
And the whole point is the power of remembering. By looking back at the past and seeing that clear pattern of God's faithfulness, of promises made and promises kept, well, that builds a rock-solid foundation of trust for whatever is coming next.
So there you have it. We've walked through 5 very different psalms. But when you put them all together, you realize they tell one single flowing story. A story that moves from the most private space in your heart all the way out to the horizon of history.
Just think about that progression. It starts inside with a personal commitment to integrity. Then it gets real, confronting the hard fact of suffering. That experience then opens the door to a deeper gratitude for God's mercy. And that gratitude makes our world bigger, opening our eyes to the glory of creation. And finally, our hope finds a solid place to land in the historical proof of God's faithfulness. It's a whole spiritual journey right there in 5 steps. And that really just leaves us with one final thought to take away. As you think about this path we've walked, from integrity through suffering to praise, which part of this ancient journey speaks the most to where you are in your life right now?